Hello there, and welcome to Echo Base X-Wing Mission Debriefing. I'm Walker Darko, and with me, as always, are Jake Ream
Hey everybody, how's it going tonight?
and Kevin Leintz.
Hey everybody, what's up?
All right, so tonight we have a some of you may have seen this one, a top four match from the Seattle System Open between two very excellent X-Wing players, Andy Myers and Andrew Bunn. So just a little heads up, this was originally recorded by Dion. So we might have a couple time jumps when he was doing giveaways
Or drawings.
or drawings.
Yeah, when you say drawings, you mean drawings on the screen, right?
Yes,
Okay.
So this game originally was commentated by Dion and Farmer, and there were periods where they did their own telestrations, very John Madden style. A couple times the screen gets very messy, and I did my best to kind of help clip out most of it. But there are some parts in key turns and maneuvers that it just didn't make sense to cut it out, so you'll have to just bear with us. But this was the top four game from the Seattle System Open, and I incorrectly plugged last time. This is the correct Andy. This is one of our locals from Minnesota who flew out to Seattle to play, and he's been playing this list at least for a couple months, as far as I know.
Yep.
All right, should we do the breakdown?
Yeah. Do you have the list in front of you, Kevin? You want to go over it,
Yeah,
or
I
would
can
you like
do
me
it.
to?
Yep,
Okay.
I can do it. So we'll start with the really straightforward and simple one. Andy Myers is flying 4 T-70s. Yes, that's right. I said 4 T-70s. 3 of them are identical. They are the Red Squadrons, which is the Initiative 3, and they all have heroic and S-foils. And Jess is just with S-foils. And this comes in, I believe, at 200 or 199. It might be 199. And
Yeah, it's $199.
And then we have Mr. Andrew Captain Cinnamon Bun with Colonel Jendon and Palp. Major Vendor with, all right, let's get ready for the
Everything.
Dictionary of Words. Trick Shot, Fire Control System, Advanced Proton Torpedoes, Advanced Slam, and the OS-1 Arsenal loadout. And a very thick Soontir with Lone Wolf and Stealth Device.
No Predator on Soontir.
Yeah, I think with this list you could get by with Lone Wolf.
I mean, he's at top four, so I would
Yeah.
think so.
This game will be really interesting. I think it will all come down to target priority from Andy and the engagement scrum. I think is really what it's going to come down to. If Andy takes the bait on Soontir or how he positions, I think this will all come down to that decision and maybe a couple dice rolls. But
Dice
it
rolls,
should be a good
so
game.
heroic.
Yeah, I'm sure Heroic will trigger at least. He only has 4 of them in the list.
Only 3.
Or 3 of them. 3 of them.
So as Andy, if you were flying that same list, what would you be looking to target first?
So I would try to see who he flanks with, and if you can try to pounce on the shuttle first. Because really what it's going to come down to is you're probably never going to kill Soontir.
Mm-hmm.
You should kill the shuttle, and the shuttle's worth 57 points. So my goal as Andy would be to try to kill the shuttle and Vinder before the game's over, but before time, because I doubt that Bunn has enough offense to straight up kill. I mean, maybe if he gets a really good engagement, but I doubt he has enough offense to straight up kill Andy's list. So that would be my goal going in. And I think Bunn will just take whatever he can get and try to just take points. Bunn just knows he needs to probably score more than 57 because it's usually likely that your shuttle will die.
Yeah. Yeah, so Bunn's looking to probably kill one of the X-Wings, doesn't matter which one, and then pull half on the other, and then use his speed and maneuverability from Vinder and Soontir to then outposition Andy's T-70s.
Yep.
Well, and Andy's got salvo.
Yep.
He sure does. Yeah, he sure does.
So that puts a little bit of the pressure on Bunn to take the points.
It does. Yep.
Mhm.
Depending on how things go, how well he can hide his shuttle or where the engagement happens. But
Yep. And Crazy Vulcan in the Twitch chat is saying that trading an X-Wing for the shuttle is trading up. Absolutely. And any one of the X-Wings there.
Yep.
So
I trade any ship of Andy's for any ship of Bunn's if I was Andy.
yes, winning strategy.
I don't find many of those.
All right. Are we?
So Walker, you're going to start playing this list? Is that what you're saying?
Well, let's see how this goes.
Okay.
I do
All
like
right,
X-wings.
Let's. Are you guys ready to start then?
Yeah, let's get started.
Yeah, I think we're good to go.
All right, let's go. So, getting the rocks out there.
Yep. It's I think this will be another interesting piece to talk about. So Bunn, I believe, brought the 3 gas clouds since that really maximizes his ace's defensive abilities. And Andy
Mhm.
brought the 3 biggest rocks. Kind of interesting. You'd expect maybe the 3 smallest rocks from Andy. Most jousting lists want to bring the 3 smallest rocks if possible, but there is a lot of board space taken up by all these obstacles. That is for sure.
I only see 3 obstacles. I mean, I think even bringing the 3 biggest rocks, like we're seeing a lot more people start to use the gas clouds, and I think you're safe with the jousting list to bring the 3 biggest because you can potentially then just use your, if they're available when you get to place the obstacles, you can set them off to one side or the other and still create that nice big open space that he wants to keep in formation with his 4 T70s.
Well, and if you play the lower quality of player, as I always seem to do, you do get the people that struggle with rocks. So it is one way to edge yourself into that middle tier off the lower tier, because that's where you get the people that really can't fly as well.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, and if you're comfortable maneuvering around the obstacles, then yeah, just bring the biggest rocks.
And it hasn't happened yet, but Dion does update the colors of the T70s so that we can easily identify them. I think he does this in like the first or second turn. So we'll just have the dots coordinated to the ships, and Dion takes care of the rest for us. So just a heads up.
Yeah. So initially, what I like to see here is Andy is jumping out there pretty fast with those T70s, and we've talked about that before, Kevin, with getting out there quickly and controlling board space.
Yep, and I found out later on, like, this is Andy's go-to start maneuver is 4 forward boost.
Oh, nice.
Apparently
I
he
like it.
does it like every game, which it's a good tactic, especially in the situation where Andy has literally half of the board where there's not much in his way, and he can claim the middle of the board and potentially put pressure on that shuttle. Like, I would like to see him turn this aggressive turn 1 into see what the shuttle does. But if the shuttle does its little stall tactics, this would be a good chance to try to just drive into the shuttle immediately.
Yeah.
Especially if Vinder maybe goes too far out or too wide on a flank.
Yep.
doesn't
Yeah, and we do see this shuttle stall there because now Vinder's moving. So shuttle probably just bumped into Vinder.
Yeah, I think it did because he moves first.
Mm-hmm.
So this tells Andy a little bit too that Vinder is the flanker here. Soontir would be used as the bait, just given board position on how he's set up.
Yep.
And now our colors are updated, so we are good to go there.
That is so good, by the way, that Dion does that.
So looking into turn 2, as Andy, I mean, he's kind of got a decent position there in the middle with the X-Wings to start to bank towards the shuttle, like off to the left if he wanted to. He doesn't have to commit hard because there's absolutely no obstacles in front of him anywhere there. So he can, if he just kind of does like a 1 bank, maybe even a 2 bank, he could correct depending on what Andrew does.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would honestly be tempted to... So because of where Vinder is, it's a little bit harder for him to navigate those rocks if he were to try to come down in the next turn or 2.
Yep.
If I were Andy, I would honestly be debating 3 bank boosting with all my ships next turn. And
Yeah,
just charge at it. Because that shuttle, again, is in a position where if he tries to bank, he's going to bump into Vinder, which then bumps into Soontir. so he basically doesn't move, and now you've closed in on the shuttle.
Right.
Or if he tries to just like go forward, then he has to potentially deal with the rock, and you might get shots next turn. But we see Andy kind of do a "I'm not going to come to you" approach, which I think
got salvo.
I think typically isn't a bad decision. I just think in this situation, it might be really advantageous for Andy to actually become the aggressor based on where Vinder is located, and force Vinder to have to deal with those rocks. And you either turn on Vinder later when you know where he'll be, or you just deal with the shuttle and try to rip it off the board. And if you approach him aggressively, that's also going to make Soontir have to try to get the flank, which is going to take him a turn or two.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And I know he's got trick shot, and that can be scary because it's 5 dice. But I think you have the hit points to weather a torpedo as long as you can get enough trade in return.
Well, and you got heroic, so
Yeah.
you know you're rolling something.
Yes. You're not blanking out more than likely.
But it does still happen. We've seen that. I think I've seen that far too often on heroic. See double blanks into double blanks, and that feels even worse.
Feels good as your opponent, though.
Well. So do you think this next turn, are we going to see Bunn separate Vinder and Soontir a little bit more and use Jendon to kind of hold the middle there?
Yeah, I don't think Bunn's going to commit through the rocks because that'll really limit his options. I think we're going to see Bunn come around as the flanker with Vinder, which, again, I think really Andy could utilize this moment as his positioning and where Vinder is to really try to take advantage and pounce on that shuttle.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, I think Vinder is going to come on the outside and try to flank, and obviously Soontir's not actually going to come at him and engage.
You don't think Soontir wants to joust all four?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Well, and Bunn is notoriously a risk-adverse player, right?
He's
like
very risk-averse.
Yeah. So there's just something to know about him as a player, and he's going to take that safe approach. So.
Yep. And I think it's good to see that because sometimes it's good to catch your opponent aggressive and you know be aggressive. And Bunn is probably not expecting Andy to be that aggressive. So we see Andy start to turn in. I like this, except I think I would have liked it if he had like a barrel roll or if he would have went a little bit wider maybe with the bank, just so that it's hard. It's right now. It's really hard for Andy to turn in and not lose actions if he decides to go in on Vinder this next turn.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if he was a little bit wider out, it keeps the threat of Soontir. Like, hey, I could still be coming towards that shuttle, but it allows him to bank in or potentially hard turn in if he needs to on Vinder in the following turns.
Yeah, and I think that's why I like the bank maneuver better there. But, I mean, Andy is playing top 4 at a system open, so. He knows what he's doing with these X-Wings.
So Bunn with the kind of expected hard one Soontir going to probably barrel roll behind that rock.
Yeah, well, and he did the same thing. He did a 2-turn with Vinder away, and then he must have slammed.
And there they're showing us.
Yeah, they're showing us. Ryan's drawing all the lines being like, well, Soontir's probably going to barrel roll and go straight. Yeah. Yep.
But that just shows, Bunn turning away and, getting away from that engagement when it's not not the engagement he wants. It's not favorable for him.
Well, and so another thing to think about too here is, so as you know, players, Bunn is risk averse. So you can almost, with high certainty, you can almost guarantee there's no way in hell Bunn is going to hard in back down towards the T-70s next turn. Bunn is going to go straight and he's going to go hide behind those rocks or he's going to bank away.
Mm-hmm.
And this is, again, another thing where I think this is the big turning point, right? Because if Andy pursues Vinder, he's exposing his back to potentially the shuttle and Soontir. If he goes in, Vinder needs at least a couple turns because his lock is on the lead T-70, which is going to be the hardest one for him to get access to. So Vinder's kind of a couple turns away.
Yeah.
So Andy decides to go for Vinder, which I think isn't a bad call.
Well, after Suntir boosted forward, he barrel rolled and then boosted forward, I think, that might have led him to go towards Vinder and off to the left with the T70s instead, because now there is no possible way that Suntir comes back down.
Right.
So
No, there is. Yep.
so you're not exposing the back of those T70s to Suntir and Jendon, and
Yeah.
maybe he's going where he expects Andrew to go, as opposed to where he is, and casting those wide arcs of the, having all that formation.
Well, and I think some of it too is, so we didn't get as much time because I had to cut out some of the drawing, and now they're doing the snow cones and the bacon, and they're talking about the gas clouds. But this tells us that going in, Andy's target priority was Vinder. I think it was probably Vinder all along. And I think I was talking under the assumption that you haven't decided if Jendon or Vinder is your target priority.
Right.
But getting all those ordnance off the map is nice too.
It is. But no matter what, Suntir's going to do a 2 bank this turn. So had you just charged at that shuttle instead of turning in, you maybe get some good shots at that shuttle. Maybe 3 ships shoot at that shuttle, and Suntir probably doesn't shoot you. Vinder maybe gets a torpedo off, maybe, but if you go fast enough, I don't know if he does. But that's just debating options.
Right. Yeah, and in the moment, like, you have to ultimately, at that point, Andy had to make a decision on, what his gut was telling him, and also, what he was looking at as his win conditions, and that's just the route he chose.
Yep. So Bunn is figuring out if he's going to slam or not, and this is a tough position for Vinder to be at, because so he did a 3 bank, so he has all the 3s. So he has a 3 forward, a 3 bank, or a 3 hard as his options. And he knows he's probably taken at least 2 to 3 shots, no matter what maneuver he chooses for the slam.
Yeah, because if he sits there, he's got at least 2 X-Wings that can shoot him at range 3. And if he slams and gets closer, then he's bringing 2 more X-Wings into the mix for shooting him. So.
Yep. The hard part then becomes the advanced slam and the stress, but he wants to slam because he gets an extra agility.
Right.
So he's kind of trying to weigh in the math here of what is the best call for me.
Yep. And, while it does take him a little bit to make these decisions, it's acceptable. Like, this is a pivotal move for Bunn, whether, he slams the bank, the straight, or the 3 turn, and then what he's going to do following up. So.
Yep.
And especially with playing, only 3 ships that are all more points than every single one of Andy's, like, he really has to be careful, because, a wrong move here and he loses a ship, and now he puts himself in a really big hole.
Yep. So it'll be, so this is still Bunn deciding.
That's why I was talking, because I know it takes a long time. I was just trying to make sure we didn't have any dead air.
I was really worried with our editing we would lose time, but thank you, Mr. Bunn.
And I know that, like, the other part of it too is, I know from experience playing with Miranda for so long that those small base slamming ships really can make jousters have a headache just trying to keep up with where they can be. Like, if you make a wrong decision, you often are able to slam into a significantly better or less bad position.
Yep.
So that's the other danger. Like, it's not great to try to pin down Suntir, but Suntir has, in some ways, less distance that he can cover. He has more maneuverability at a fine level, but he has less maneuverability at a larger level. Like, he can't 3 bank or 3 hard.
Yeah.
So it's almost as hard to pin down Vinder as it is Suntir.
Mm-hmm. And I would agree with you, Kevin. I played Miranda for a while towards the end of first edition, and I actually got to the point where I liked to see the tie swarms because of Slam. It was, it was really fun.
Yep.
It's being able to go, oh, okay, I three banked, and now I'm going to three bank and slam into the very last ship in your formation, and you don't get to shoot at all.
Yep.
Wasn't fun for my opponents, I know, but
something to note that is really important here is Andy has prevented Bunn from being able to fire a proton torpedo turn 1 like he wants, which is also very good.
Yep.
So it looks like 2 X-Wings will have shots.
So it looks like just a straight range 3 shot on Devinder. And easily evaded because there was only 1 hit. So a little under average on Andy's dice so far. So Jess is using her ability.
So 2.
Still a little under average, but 2. Vender spends, takes nothing.
Yep.
Shout out to Dion's dice cam, though. It is crisp.
Dion has a very nice dice cam.
All right, so we had to kind of cut out some of the editing here. We didn't really get to discuss the options of Andy if he wanted to try to send that green in to block or if he wanted to just turn him in and expose the side to Soontir because Soontir is coming in.
Mm-hmm.
Andy has to kind of guess if Vender's coming in or if he's running out, which can be a little tough. So I think we see Andy here spread a bit of a fan to cover both options.
Kind of hedging his bets.
Yep. And this is good and bad in its own way, because if you spread it too thin, you can either A, not make enough shots to count, or B, possibly just get arc dodged. Like, if he does a 3-bank, he could fly over Andy's entire squad with Vinder. Like, if he 3-banked in, 3-banked in. Or if you catch him and you do guess it right, then you have a bunch of shots and you really get the ability to punish.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a gamble.
Well, and you're also potentially reducing the amount of red dice that you're going to use for the turn because you're breaking that formation, and you're also maybe making it a little bit tougher for you the following turn to either bring your ships back into formation or cover your firing arcs in different areas because you broke the formation early.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is where Bunn is wishing he had outmaneuver on Jendon.
Oh my gosh. So we see Soontir take a focus and link to a barrel roll, which means he's going to hard 2 in. And they're talking about the gap of where Soontir's coming in.
Yeah.
So Bunn banks the other way.
I mean, he can still slam around, but he's going to get probably at least that yellow shot.
Yeah, I don't think he can get out of yellow or pinks.
But he's got blue right now, it looks like.
Yeah, I think blue might be clipping his back corner. So right now he's standing at 3 shots, so he's going to slam.
If Dion could just give me that aerial camera real quick right now.
They had it just a little bit ago.
I know.
But this is a little bit of what we talked about while Bunn's making this decision. So now Soontir's coming in on the top, and the shuttle really is unthreatened and is just going to start throwing dice at you, which is it's the downside. You have to pick a target. But the thing that kind of stinks for Andy is even let's say he slams and he gets 2 shots, he's only 2 of his 4 guns are firing. Whereas if you go at that shuttle, 3 to 4 of your guns are firing pretty much every turn. But you are getting punished on the other side. So it's a decision and an educated guess you have to make.
Yeah, I think he would have been taking that blue one before, so.
So we see the weapon disarm token.
Okay, I was going to ask what that was when I saw it earlier.
It's a sleepy farmer token.
Oh, now I can see it. There he is, his jacket over him. It's a good token.
So now he's thinking about the advanced slam to take a stress and get a focus. Because Vinder currently is at 3 agility when he slams.
Yeah, so he's probably assessing whether or not he's going to be taking 1 or 2 shots.
Yep. And he's thinking about the next turn, right? Because he's like, I have to 2 bank next turn, so what does next turn look like for other options? And Dion's drawing that on the telestrator right now.
Soontier is going to get to put some... I mean, probably not too bad a pain, but...
He's going to get a free shot. Right?
Yep. But yeah, the free shot is like...
Free shot.
Even if you only do 1 damage, it was a free damage.
And even if you do none, you're not paying for it, so...
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Kind of like content from X-Wing. It can be free. Or if you'd like to support people, we do have a Patreon.
Where would you go to find that, Walker? If you wanted to maybe support Echo Base X-Wing?
I think you would just go to Patreon and search X-Wing or Echo Base X-Wing, and you'd find us. Just look for that little white logo we have in the bottom corner, right here. I'm working on my segues. We'll get there.
That wasn't bad. It could use a little bit of polishing, but I don't think we'll hold it against it.
So Bunn must be thinking that there's a possibility that Andy will be able to shoot him.
But
So
no. But yeah, no bullseye.
So, looks like range 2.
2 hits.
Basically average, yeah.
Yeah. We've got Mr. Andy Myers in the Twitch chat. Hey Andy, how's it going tonight?
And they just double checked to make sure Soontier did not have Lone Wolf.
So 1. There's your 1.
Takes a shield. Yep, there's your free shield. So measuring from pink. Range 3, so Vinder will have 4 dice. Ugh.
Ouch.
And no heroic, Walker, because there was
True.
So it's been a little rough. Andy has fired 3 times now and never rolled more than 2 hits, even with a token. And 1 shot had double mods.
Yep.
So, and
another one.
That's rough. So Bunn's going to have 2... So he's taken 4 shots and taken 0 damage. Wow.
Yeah, and 1 shot from Soontier stripped a shield from green.
Yep, and I think we're going to see an obstructed shuttle shot. Oh, geez. Spends the pelt focus for 2 more shields.
And I've always said I'd rather have hot dice early than hot dice late.
Yeah, if the snowball rolls early, you have a big advantage.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we had to jump ahead because of the drawings, but so Andy's committing to Vinder's escape, it looks like. Closing the S-foils to try to do the focus barrel roll. Yep.
Yep, because where he's at now, if he doesn't slam, there's a chance he doesn't get shot.
Yep.
Now you force him to slam, which again turns his gun off, even if you don't get a shot.
It turns his gun off unless he could shoot at the guy he had a lock on, which there's no way he can.
Right.
And I think that barrel roll there was a good play by Andy to do that,
Sure. So then the bank, I like a lot. It keeps his availability to probably shoot. Yeah, he should have a shot even if he does a 2 bank 2 hard slam.
But now we're bringing the whole gang around.
I actually wondered here a little bit if maybe like a 3 talon roll would have been good from...
just to get his gun going that direction?
Yeah, that would have covered a little bit more space on you're talking about on blue, correct? Doing a 3 talon roll, Kevin?
Oh, right. Kevin. Well, Kevin has stopped moving. So Kevin must have...
Probably forgot to pay his internet bill. They cut him off.
And that'll happen. Adulting is hard.
So if that's what Kevin was referring to, I like that move as well, because it is putting Blue's arc in the direction that Vinder will be going this turn and the next, and so it means he can get Blue behind Vinder and keep pressure on him.
And he did decide to go for the block of Soontir if he could.
Yep.
I mean, even if Soontir clears, at least Green's not getting shot, because otherwise Green was just going to get devoured.
Yeah. Yep.
So it's a good call. In my mind.
Oh, no, it was definitely. I will agree with you there.
Oh, good.
Yes. I mean, overall, I think all the moves that Andy was doing this turn, based on where he had prioritized his target on Vinder, were good. You know, he was covering a lot of space in that corner of where Vinder is probably going to be, and giving him good position to follow up on the next turn.
Yeah, I just kind of hope that if Andy gets a bunch of shots, hopefully the variance gods will go his way.
He needs it, yes.
Yeah. Not that I'm cheering one side or the other, but boy, you just hate to see it where it's every time you shoot, you get nothing.
Yeah. I mean, his dice was the beginning were pretty cold. So we also see Soontir doing a little bit of fancy footwork there and getting around Green with a boost barrel roll.
I think we have Kevin back.
Yep.
Do I need to rewire your whole house?
No, the next thing is a possible graphics card. One of the only pieces I haven't changed. We'll find out. I have one coming on Thursday from one of my buddies.
So we do see that 2-bank out of Vinder to clear, because that's blue on the dial, right? I haven't flown.
Yes, that's Jess. Yep.
Yeah.
So Vinder 2-bank 2-hearted?
No, he just performed the 2-bank, and now he's doing the
2-hard
turn.
Okay.
Yep. He's just setting his template, or setting it right in front of the template now. So we're trying to sync up.
And even it looks like
still getting all 3 shots.
Yeah, he's still gonna get shot.
But he's gonna get a shot. No, he won't. He won't get a shot back because he slammed. I caught myself before you called me stupid. Thank you.
Where does? Because what is the OS1?
Oh yeah.
Because that allows him to use the torpedo and missile attacks against targets you have locked. So he actually could shoot pink, right? Because he has it. Because the OS1 Arsenal loadout says while you have exactly 1 disarm token, you can still perform torpedo and missile attacks against targets you have locked. If you do, you cannot spend your lock. So he can.
And Proton and Advanced Proton are both lock for their requirement?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
If they were focused, it's kind of like, well, great, you have that lock, and you could fire it, but...
Right.
All right, well,
yeah, so he can shoot pink.
Well, my favorite part of the game is dice anyway, so let's go.
Yep.
So here's Soontir. Okay.
Checking for Lone Wolf, and he's not able to use it.
So a hit crit. Ooh, not ideal. Andy, so shields, 2 shields down.
Yep.
2 shields and a damage.
Yep.
So half points then.
Yeah, and Twitch chat is bringing up that with Vinder shooting at pink there, he does have fire control, so he'll be able to at least roll 1 die, and then he also has the pelt focus if he needed to. So still like double modded shot.
So here's the hit crit.
Here's another almost heroic.
Yeah, hit crit from Pelp, and then his dice are pretty, very pretty. So he nattied out a Jendon's shot.
So now we get to see Do Andy's dice come back?
Well, I think his dice started to come back there
Yep.
with his defense dice nattying out. Yes. Yes, they do.
Hey, look at that.
Yeah. So Vinder is without any shields. And he's got 2 more shots coming at him.
Yep. And he's already Andrew has already used Palp and the focus token from Vinder.
Well, that'll do it to help, but it's one more. All right, so the last shot is the yellow or pink, maybe. That's pink. So spend it for 2.
And another one.
He will take 1.
I mean, he's just chipping the paint there, but at least he's getting some damage through, unlike the last couple times.
Yep.
So this turn, I think, is kind of a little more difficult for Andy. Just trying to clear out a little bit and Vinder he's got a couple different options of like turning left and kind of just completely getting out of danger if Andy goes to the right or to the left with his ships. So I mean, it looks like he's kind of covering a couple different areas, but
yeah,
going all in on Vinder that turn before and not putting his arcs in the direction that he could possibly be traveling the turn after might have hurt him a little bit more there.
Yep, and now you've got green really
out of it.
Out of the game, basically, right? I mean, he maybe comes back for one more shot before the end of the game.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, by the time he turns around and then gets running, he's not really going to...
I'm kind of surprised that this would have been a couple turns ago that green didn't just like 4K when the shuttle was starting to come in, like after he took the initial shot at him and Soontir was coming in. I'm actually kind of surprised that the green didn't 4K because there's no way that Soontir's,
And Andy said in chat, the plan was to kill Vinder last turn.
Oh, I'm sure.
If his first 2 rolls weren't so cold, I mean, although these kind of swung to the hot side of it, but I mean, the first 2 weren't so cold, he may have gotten that kill done with at 5 shots.
Yeah, with those 4 shots he had where he did 0 damage, typically you knock at least 1 or 2 shields off. I mean, yeah, he'd be dead. That's 2 extra damage.
And I think there would have been a crit that got through, maybe, that went to shields.
Right.
But this is just to show what happens when you commit to Vinder, like how hard it actually can be to pin him down. It might not seem like it, but he's a lot squirrelier than people think.
Well, he looks small, but he's thick. 2 C's.
There's no reason to feel bad. Right. But he's like, ugh. Come on, guys. I need a world to
the tough part, too, is the easy target that you have in the list, you haven't really been able to shoot at once yet.
Yeah.
And it's chucked, 9 dice at you so far this game?
Mm-hmm. Since we've got Andy in Twitch watching, Andy, do you think it would have been better to go after the shuttle early on instead of trying to chase down Vinder? And I guess, how do you think that would have altered the game? I mean, it's kind of hard to tell, but just from your feelings on how the game played out. Just kind of curious if, maybe having Jendon as that target.
Well, and I think that all came down to, that second turn, or was it third turn? I think it was second turn decision.
Yeah.
Of when he turned in instead of fast banking and continuing to go and start the rotation. I think that's really what it all came down to, is that decision process. Like, what your thoughts have been to maybe charge ahead and see if you can catch Vinder way out of position and get free shots on that shuttle.
We made a call on Judge Dion, but as of right now, Vinder's not taking any shots.
He's going to be in front of these guys, which will be chipping him around, right? So if you go this way with green and Vinder wants to chase, suddenly it's this way and you don't have the approach angle.
And Soontir is just stealing lunch money right now.
As Soontir normally does.
Free shots.
As he is wont to do, yes.
Yeah. So in Twitch chat, Andy's saying he could have screamed down the board at presumably at Jendon at the beginning, but then he would have had Vinder and Soontir behind him.
I think to some degree that's true, but I think because
Yeah.
of where he was with the rocks, I think he would have gotten about 2 turns of really good shots. I think he would have burned down that shuttle and maybe taken a torpedo in the process, and I think you make that trade. But yes, you're correct. It is allowing him to flank you with it, but because of where he was positionally and where you were, I think you might have gotten the better end of that trade.
And at range 1, how many red dice does Soontir roll?
At range 1,
Yeah.
you'd be rolling 4.
So he's putting 4 in the pink?
Yeah. I can't tell if that was a Walker joke or just an
Happy Father's Day.
observation.
So 3 hits to a 1 evade.
Yeah. And Andy's also saying that if he would have taken Vinder out this last turn, then his plan was to go after the shuttle.
Makes sense. That's the next target you should go after. I agree. Yep.
Yeah.
All right, range 3 onto the shuttle. Talk about reinforced rules as it comes up.
Jess can spend the charge.
So range 3 onto a reinforced shuttle. Boy, that is not ideal.
Now it's not the shuttle.
Yeah, he's had some rough red dice this game.
Yeah.
A
So
lot of 2 blank 1 symbol.
talking about what both players can do for this next turn after we get through the engagement, what, like Andy in his position here, what are his options for getting those T-70 arcs? I mean, does he now, like, do you abandon Vinder and go after the shuttle because you've got blue and yellow that can turn, like, bank and turn in towards the shuttle and start putting 3 and 4 dice onto them?
Pink
Or-
and Talon roll.
Yeah, and pink
So
could
can
down
yellow.
roll.
So can yellow. Or yellow could just hard turn.
Right.
2. I mean, it's kind of what you think Soontir's going to do, right? So I think you probably hard turn 2 with yellow and you Talon roll down towards the board edge with pink. But then, pink's probably going to get shot at for free.
Would it be-
Although you could K-turn Jess or Talon roll Jess. But again, it depends. Like, are you trying to catch Vinder or Soontir if he comes in? I don't know.
Right. And it's also something to think about that, like, at this point, Andy is actually up.
He is.
Shuttle's got 2 into Jess, depending on what she rolls.
It wouldn't feel like it by
It's
the
not
way,
Jess, it's
like,
pink. Sorry.
dice and stuff have been going. Like, it kind of feels like Andy's behind, but points-wise, he's ahead. So that also has to weigh into his decisions of, do you try to then also get half on the shuttle? And, that puts you at, like, what, over 50 points. And then Bunn has to take out a T-70 in order to even catch back up.
Yep.
And the only one that's, well, now what? The pink T-70 is only 3 away from being destroyed, but
Yep, but I think he's just laying them out there.
yeah.
Oh, they are all. I was correct. They are all at 3s. So he does get the perfect information.
But the other thing that we need to kind of address is
I was accidentally.
we're running low on time.
Yep.
Like, Green's disengage took a bit too long. I mean, he's coming now where he might have a chance to maybe shoot at Bender, but you kind of needed Green to get re-engaged a turn ago, by last turn to help contribute a little bit.
Yeah.
But I get it. You peel him off in order to try to.
Well, he was
Conserve
looking at
points.
conserving points. Yeah, absolutely.
bank out of town.
Hey, Kevin, are you watching Twitch chat? Daniel's in chat.
Oh yeah, I just see that now.
That's why I think green should have gone the other way. Sure.
So we see a disengage from Vinder here. Does he slam and like try to go deal with green?
Potentially. I mean, he could just because he has his target lock. I mean, you don't really need to slam because that way next turn you could try to go slow
Yeah.
and just maintain distance. That way Vinder's less likely to die.
Whatever Soontir ends up doing.
Ooh, Pink is going to be in some big trouble.
And he slams.
He's gonna probably use advanced slam here, right?
Yep.
Do a lock action to do a range check.
Yep. Yeah, green's in a bad spot now.
So now he's got that lock on green, so
Sure did.
Yeah, so now next turn
brings
he can
ordnance into it.
Target lock.
Just, yeah, we can
Mhm.
just one bank in and shoot a torpedo.
Right.
And if he comes fast at him, he'll just take an extra dice and shoot an advanced torpedo.
I mean, there's still 3 hull on Pink, but
Right there, he
it's
just gave up.
probably GG Pink.
I know.
Yeah, I mean you've got to think. You got Soontir shooting at your range 1 and
In
you've got
bullseye.
Shield shooting at you.
Now, the K-turn, he would have been
Suntir could take
in the
no, Suntir doesn't have a target lock, does he?
No.
He
Okay,
doesn't,
good.
but he has Lone Wolf if he stays out of range too.
Right, and he's got.
more space.
Well, now I don't know if he has.
Wants to guarantee the lone wolf.
Nope, he doesn't
Well,
have that.
well, the bullseye is less
Right.
important because he doesn't have predators, so he can barrel roll to make sure he's getting the distance between Jendon and then still have
Still
the
gets the
focus and then
focus,
barrel
yeah.
roll away. Yeah, so it's not important. Oof.
Four dice.
Yeah, that dice roll. Whew.
Four hits.
Oh boy.
Excuse me, on to Pink from
So taking
That's a
hit crit.
too. No heroic there either.
He rolled 2 focus symbols.
So
Thank you, Walker, for pointing out the obvious.
Kevin says it never triggers. I'm going to keep mentioning it when it doesn't trigger.
loose stabilizer.
We have not seen heroic yet.
Yeah, we haven't yet. It's been a lot of almost heroics on offense.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Like, oh, if those were 2 other non-hits, he'd have been great.
Yeah.
One straight maneuver he dies.
So yellow range 2 on the shuttle, it looks like. That shuttle being able to reinforce. Whew.
Yellow's taking
Yeah.
the shuttle.
Okay.
Spends focus for 3.
Oh, 2 shields. Okay, no problem. Jess range 1.
3 shields.
2 after reinforced.
Oh,
Oh, reinforce, yeah.
there's a good attack roll.
2.
Down to 2.
Jess.
Right.
She might be able to put the shuttle to half though.
And Jess did 4 now.
Pava, range
3
1.
because of reinforce, but he
Yep.
gets to make a decision,
Think
and
you're-
now it's going to be 2.
He might be a little ahead.
He can choose to use Palpatine.
So he's using Pelp.
So gets an evade, adds
Yep.
1 with reinforce, takes
Help plus reinforce, so 4 damage just becomes 2.
Yep.
Jeez.
Seems good.
All for the mere cost of 57 points.
Yeah.
To be fair, that is an expensive shuttle compared to if you really wanted to
I
just
mean,
just
sure, it is, but still.
Oh, I mean the other option is like if he survives the torps, he can get a shot on Vinder. So the one bank's not bad either.
Trade some pain here.
4K, yep, that's exactly right. 15 points there.
Yeah, the other thing that we're really running into now is there's less than 3 minutes left.
Hmm.
So you're looking at this is last turn.
Right.
Yeah.
The expert cancel
And there's not really a way that you can keep Pink alive, unfortunately.
Heroic.
So Andy's win condition is to try to get half of the shuttle and
Yep.
maybe not lose anything else.
And also, what hope Green survives and possibly get a shot at Vinder.
Yeah, you pray that Green doesn't die right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, you hope that green doesn't lose half.
the shuttle hard stops.
Oh wait, Green, yeah, I forgot he's 1 health. Oh
Right.
no.
Right. So that's
Oh.
the problem. Like Green is 1 point
Oh.
away from half.
Pink lives
Oh,
He's
Pink
going
flew
south.
off the
He's out,
board.
he's leaving.
Tactical retreat by Pink.
Flee the board.
I
Um,
think
Okay.
did Pink's loose stabilizer?
Yeah, caused he had no other choice.
He would have
but to
taken
fly
damage
off.
if he would have curved. So
Yeah, I
Right.
forgot about that. Yeah.
So you're gonna
Oh,
lose.
That
Yep.
really makes things rough.
Pink lives to die another day. That was
He's gonna take the focus as he wants to get half on
Yeah, so now
in case he doesn't kill.
Andy is behind and needs,
Almost guaranteed
A miracle.
yes.
Because he's going to give at least half points from that torpedo. There's no way that that X-Wing doesn't take at least a damage.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And he's basically only got one shot on the shuttle, it looks
Yep.
like.
Yeah, just blue.
Yeah. Yeah,
Range
Crazy
3.
Vulcan, you're right. It was a no-win condition for Pink. Pink was in a bad spot for that
But
crit.
now at least he went out on his own terms. Or her own terms.
Yeah, yes.
I mean, it's the last round anyway. It's fine.
Yep.
What is he thinking about? Is he thinking about slamming and then focusing?
No,
Bunn,
again,
just
right.
take the focus, man.
He
You
keeps-
get to mod your attack.
Dude.
Like, don't overthink that. You're fine.
That's a conundrum. I thought it was-
Is he going back and thinking about it again?
Yep. Fix it right back up.
Like, 5 dice is great, but so is 4 dice with a target lock and a focus. Because remember, if he advance slams, he can only use FCS to reroll 1 dice.
Right. Yeah, so
With
odds are
proton,
better with the proton torpedo instead of advanced proton torpedo
and
because
with proton, you're gonna get a crit, right?
yeah.
Yeah. But the biggest thing is he needs Vinder to live. Vinder's more
Yes.
likely to live at range 2 to 3 than he is at range 1.
Right.
For Andrew's sake, just give me, this is the last run anyway. Just give me a second.
Okay, he makes the correct decision and focuses. And now he gets a free shot, it looks like, at yellow.
He'll be able to
Yep.
get yellow.
Probably 2 free shots with the rear arc on the shuttle. I don't know. It's hard to
Yes.
I think you just
it's hard to tell if yellow has
boost. You'll get
I don't think
the
he
shuttling
does.
arc or not, but I don't think he does either.
No, I don't think he does. Andy was mentioning in chat that he forgot to barrel roll with yellow. He should have focused barrel rolled and then tried to get
Oh,
a side
yep.
shot.
Yeah, at least get that one more range.
Yep.
You could also evade focus if you think that Pava has range to soon tier, but I don't know. I
There's
don't.
no way.
I don't. I'm
that-
listen.
So I guess with this being the last turn, like
Matter.
I would absolutely.
what's to think about, Bunn? Just take the evade and bank boost, and then you'll get your focus. Or if you're really paranoid, just do the barrel roll towards the shuttle. Bunn showing his scaredness about Bullseye, maybe? I don't know.
We said when we started he's a very cautious player.
He should. Yes. Yes.
That rear arc of the T-70 was scaring him, I think.
But clearly being cautious has helped him.
I mean, it does. It's a good.
Yeah, no,
He's
Bunn
a
is a
top
great
performer.
player. No doubt there.
He is, yeah. But that's where we also talked about at the beginning of the game that sometimes you have to take risks and be unpredictable to throw your opponent off.
Yeah.
And that would throw someone like Bunn off.
Hmm,
Tier.
that seems good. And one evade, so 2 shields. It won't get you to half points, but
All right, here comes
Shuttle.
the torpedo.
so range 2.
Oh!
And he's rolling his attack dice now. Ooh, all focus.
That's a good roll for Bunn.
Spend it. Spend it.
I would have liked to see him think about it a little longer.
Yeah.
He'll get 2.
2, so 2 gets through, and that's enough for half points.
And one of them's face up.
It's a direct. He stays alive.
And then the focus token got spent too, so now it's, less likely offense.
Yeah.
That's a direct hit, so yes. Yikes.
Oof.
One.
Like almost losing the green there.
Yeah.
74 to 32.
So you gotta kill Vinder and get 2 on the shuttle.
Yep.
Well, if Andy's dice are really hot,
Oh, it's going to Jess.
So,
Range 3.
Oh,
Heroic hasn't triggered once this game, has it yet?
no mods from Jess.
not yet.
Rolls from her ability. No.
It didn't trigger there.
Maybe he just wasn't feeling it.
So hit, crit, 1 evade,
That's
That's half on the shuttle.
and the shuttle's at half.
Yeah, it's important. What's the
It-
crit? Couldn't quite see it.
No.
Range 2 shot at Vinder. Here we go.
So he shoots at Vinder.
Oh,
That won't kill Vinder. And it was so close to being heroic.
Right.
Oh, he had 3 attack rolls that were close to being heroic.
I- I-
Ugh.
Yep.
might be because they don't have the score sitting in
Yeah,
front
they
of them,
don't
of
know.
course.
Yeah.
Yeah, he just needed a good roll out of green there
So
to
shuttle on yellow.
Is that 2? Yeah,
One.
that's 2.
One still above half.
1.
2 and then 1 evade. So yeah, 1 through.
Living allowed.
So not half points. So
Nope.
only
Yep.
loses by
Well
13.
played.
Yeah.
Congratulations to Andrew Bunn.
yeah.
And he even set himself up for multiple situations to potentially win. You know, he just really had some rough red dice on those first 2 engagement turns.
He did.
And that hurt a lot.
Yep.
But yeah, interesting. This was a really good game, both to see positionally from like an ace standpoint, but also to see from a gel standpoint. And I think it was a well played game by both players. And
Yeah.
I think this was good though to really illustrate something that isn't talked about much, which we talked a little bit about in the beginning, is sometimes going at that fast speed and taking the aggression and maybe trying to see if you have a small window where you can take advantage of positionally with rocks.
Mhm.
But also, you know, even if you didn't, I think Andy played this really well. Couple dice rolls go a different way, and Bunn has a lot more pressure on him. But yes, it was a good game.
Well, yeah, and sometimes you joust those arc dodging ships, and they're kind of forced to swerve early and come around again.
Yep.
Yep.
Well, and had Vinder died that turn that Andy had, the 3 ships shooting on him when he was down in the corner, all of a sudden Andy wins that game at the end there.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. But just as a note, like if there's anything I want people to take away from this game, look for those opportunities, and this will help you become a better player. Where, like that turn 2 and turn 3 of where Vinder was, and you think about the possible moves he could take, and you think about, like we talked about, where the shuttle's real options were because he didn't have many because Soontir was in the
Mhm.
way blocking him. Think about times like that where you need to change up your game, or just in general, positionally, you can say, I know he can't do these things because where he's at with the board state, and sometimes evaluate options that maybe you normally wouldn't, and use those things to your advantage, both to pin down a ship or to maybe put yourself in a position your opponent didn't expect. But if there's one thing I think I want people to take away from this game, it's that, because I think a lot of times we get into kind of a habit as we get into the mid game and we kind of autopilot. And sometimes it's good to just be very conscious of that and be willing to change up your play style just like that. And that's really a good way to catch someone off guard.
Mhm. Yeah, because weren't you talking on the Fly Better podcast, just their last episode, about basically patterning players, and you can kind of tell, like, are they a very cautious player or are they, an aggressive player? And if you're switching that up, even in just that one single game that you're playing, that can throw off your opponent and not allow them to pattern you.
It can. Yep. And there's times, I know you've seen it too. Like when I play sometimes, Jake, I'll just gamble. Like it may not even be necessary, but there's times where like, I'm like, you know
Mhm.
what? I think this is, if there's a moment where I'm going to take a gamble, it's right now.
Yeah.
And I think players often will get a read on you, like Duncan talked about, where he's like, well, I can tell in the first couple turns what this player does, and I try to evaluate it turn by turn. But there's times where, you got to get that poker stance out and do the unexpected.
Yep.
And that's why for a while Duncan didn't like being on stream.
Part of it is because some other stuff. And
Well, and you also, yeah, you
Painted
play
him as a
differently
bad
when you're
guy.
on stream. But yeah.
Chad is talking about sometimes chaos is better. It's funny you mentioned that. I touched on this with the podcast as well, but I almost hate playing Sean now because, and Jake, you probably know this from enough games. Sean doesn't play
Yeah.
traditional style. He plays what is the move Kevin least expects me to do, and that's what
Right.
I'm gonna do.
That's how I play
There's-
Kevin too.
God, I hate that. 'Cause
Yeah.
it takes away so much of your game knowledge that you have and your experience.
But
because
that's
you're
the point.
well, I know, but it's
That's the point. I mean, when you're playing somebody who has a lot, is a lot more advanced than you in the game, you have to find a way to take them off their game.
Right.
sure does.
Don't want to play
Well,
by your rules.
and I found, Kevin, that when we were playing a lot, just you and I getting games in, I was playing you and not the optimal choices, and it actually hurt my game. Like I started to kind of digress in my X-wing ability because I was just so used to playing you and trying to, just play around the moves that I'm like, oh, Kevin will do that move. So when I would go, to some of the local events and stuff, I was actually falling behind, and I wasn't doing as good as I thought I should be, because I'm like here I'm beating you on a weekly basis, and just a random pickup game, I look like an idiot, so that's something to keep in mind too. If you have a smaller play group, you can get into that habit of playing the player and not the game.
Yep, Kyle used to talk about that too when him and I would play, because we'd always have to play each other. And
Right. Yep. But all in all, it was a good game. Thank you everybody for tuning in for this one. What do we got coming up next week? Is that the final of the Scum and Villainy Aces League?
Yep.
4 months later.
Back to Vassal.
Something like that.
Yeah, we also had our victor changed after the fact too. So
Yeah.
Yeah, that tidbit. Yeah, I think they found out they played one extra turn according to the Vassal logs, so Will ended up not losing half of Wedge and winning the game.
Oh,
So it ends
geez.
up being Will versus Chris in the
we
final.
lost the hero
Okay.
down under.
That should be a really good game though. So make sure to tune in next week again, 8:30 Central Time. Didn't you say Central Time is America's time, Kevin?
It is America's time.
But yeah, we'll be back again on Gold Squadron Entertainment next week, and the following week, what do we have planned? Another Seattle System Open.
Yep.
Yeah, I think the week after we'll do the final of Bunn versus Daniel Taylor, because that's actually a really good game.
Yeah, really good. So as always, if you guys like what we do, it'd be awesome if you'd head on over to Patreon and help support us so we can keep doing this. But just tuning in and joining us in the chat and giving your feedback and stuff like that, we do appreciate.
And Dion has posted our episodes before, but every episode does go up on our YouTube channel as well. So if you want to look at anything older, it's all there.
Yep. And that's Echo Base X-Wing on YouTube.
Yep.
Thanks, everybody.